Today's episode is brought to you by the Realm Maintenance Podcast. Check out realm-maintenance.com.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, the Blevins, and with me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Oh, man, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about this week.
Whew, it's going to be tough to get through it. I hope you guys don't like the tangents, because we're going to really have to curb them to get through all of the tournaments that happened this week.
Yeah, that whole tournament is going to be real tough.
Yes.
Well, let's just preface it, even though we probably don't need to, and honestly probably shouldn't. Let's preface it anyway. Not a whole heck of a lot went on this week. It was kind of weird, because like the last couple of weeks we had a lot. We had a guest, obviously, Hexagrams. If you haven't checked out last week's episode 37, I implore you to. It is, I would say, my personal favorite episode we've done. At least a top 3 episode for me that we've done. It was great. Hex was great. Most of us were great. Not me, obviously, but Hex was great. The episode was great. We went on some great tangents, and it was fantastic. So definitely check that one out. But this week we had a lot before, and we're on like the eve kind of EleagueEve. The EleagueEve. I just came up with that off the top of my head. There's the meme.
I like
on the EleagueEve, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about probably the next at least 2 weeks, and with EleagueEve, and then the fallout of EleagueEve, and then right around the corner is going to be BlizzCon, so we'll have some stuff. We'll have some cool stuff from BlizzCon, hopefully, because half of us are going to BlizzCon. Rip. But let's move into it. We're going to talk about what we can, and hopefully not go on and not bore you all to death. Hopefully at least half of us will stay awake for the whole episode. But first things first, guys, if you're listening to this not live, so everyone else after the live viewers listening to this, check out the Realm Maintenance Podcast, because we were on the newest episode. We got asked to do a thing. We were guests on a show. What kind of an idiot would invite us?
I know. Ro.
No, but in all seriousness, Ro from Realm Maintenance Podcast. For those of you who aren't super familiar with Realm Maintenance Podcast, you should be, because he does a great job of compiling basically every Blizzard-related podcast into one little tiny digestible bit that's like, here's every Overwatch podcast, which we've been on the list for quite some time, without us asking. He just found us, which is great. Here's the World of Warcraft podcast, here's the Storm podcast, etc. Does that, and then he has different guests from different shows, different parts of the communities for Blizzard on every week, and does interviews and shows on that. So definitely check that out, or at the very least check out the one that we're on, because there's some cool. It's definitely a different type of show than what we would do. Definitely much more production value, much more professional, fewer tangents. Really everything you want from a podcast that you don't get here was on the Realm Maintenance Podcast.
Yeah, he even had, I think he told us he had to cut a little time out because Classic Us, we went long, right? Like, the only thing I think we didn't do that wasn't Classic Us is, like, we were on time.
That's true. We did show up on time.
Good. I was proud of us.
I was pretty proud as well. We did show up on time after doing one of our best episodes, but the momentum definitely carried on. As some cool, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I've ever been interviewed to that extent, ever, for anything besides like a job.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that, but it was kind of cool to be interviewed for.
Nice.
Definitely was never interviewed for something like this. That's for sure. So it was definitely a cool experience. Ro, thank you very much for having us. If you ever want us on again, I will be more than happy to.
Yes.
Had a great time.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of being interviewed in the past thinking about it, just because I spent an episode over with the Omnic Lab guys. So they kind of grilled me a little bit, but even that was very different. Like I was like, it's like when Hex comes on, there's only this small portion of it that's an interview or a couple, personal questions so that people can get to know you. It was definitely really cool to reminisce too, because a lot of his questions were, what's happened in the past, or what do people need to know, things like that. So it was cool thinking back on some of the things that have happened and kind of realizing for the first time, or maybe not quite the first time, but close to it, just how long we've been doing the show.
It's crazy. Like, he's asking us, like, what have you guys seen in the esports scene? Well, we won't spoil it, but one of the questions was like, what have you guys seen in the esports scene? And I'm like, I remember when we're like, oh man, the Gosu weekly tournaments, it's cool that we're going to have a tournament to watch every week. And now it's like there's 10 trillion tournaments, a million people. It's like, oh yeah, I remember these two guys. They brought on this Hex and CP guy. Man, I hope they get real casters eventually. And now, awesome to see where the Overwatch community has come, and where we've come since then. So definitely check that out. A lot of great stuff in that, and check out the Realm Maintenance podcast. It's a really neat thing what Ro is doing. Kind of collecting all of the podcasts from all around the Blizzard universe. It's really awesome. So.
Yeah, especially if you're a WoW player. I know Ro's very big into WoW, and he loves to cover that content as well. But basically, you're already listening to one Blizzard-based podcast, so there's nothing over there that's going to be like objectionable to you. You'll only pick up new podcasts you haven't heard of before that you'll become fans of, or even his own. So definitely don't miss that, and make sure you give him a look.
Yeah, 100%. And so that's great. Another little note, we're also on another website now, thezonopost.com, ZONOPOST.com. Guy met actually through an esports development Slack channel. He's like, hey, love to have your podcast on the website. I'm like, sure. And I talked to him. He seems like a cool guy. His website's really cool, really new, looking for writers and whatnot, and content producers. So we're on there first. And at first, and I'm going to be candid here, at first I'm like, okay, this is kind of all right. We're on a website. Okay, cool. Can't hurt. But there's a lot of interesting tools actually getting to look into it. And post the first episode, actually. There's a lot of cool things he's doing with some social media stuff. I thought it was just a regular website, but there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes with some SEO optimization and some other stuff that I think is going to be kind of cool. Very interesting to see where that's going to end up. But thank you, Zono Bro, for having us, and we look forward to being on there every week. So definitely, guys, check out zonopost.com if you want to see us. We have our video there, and there's also some other cool content on there as well. So definitely check that out. So let's move on to what we did last week. Death, got anything?
I sure do. So yeah, I'm officially kind of hitting the free agent market again, but I'm hitting it slowly due to football season. I don't want to push things too fast, and I want to be really picky about if I'm going to decide to join up with a team. But what that's meant for me is I need to get my rank up there, and I need to stop being a little wuss about not playing in 6 stacks, and actually get out there and play some Overwatch on occasion. So
maybe you should play with some of your co-hosts before you're over 1,000 points up.
I never see you on anymore, really, to be perfectly honest. Every now and then, but you're usually like in a group, and I think everybody is kind of a similar agreement where 2 and 3 stacks are the way to go.
I think so, for sure.
Yeah. So, but anyways, this Friday I came home from work and I said, all right, well, I'm gonna walk in the door right away, sit down, start playing, and I'll play till I lose, and then I'll go get dinner. But I was like starving at 9:30, so I couldn't wait any longer to lose, so I had to go get some food, come back, and I said, all right, I'm gonna play till I lose, and I'll play some Hearthstone. And at the beginning half, I was honestly just playing with like some guy I met on Reddit. And when I was, posting about looking for a team, he got back to me. He didn't have one, but he just wanted to play some games, so I figured why not. Went really well. I think we won like 6 or 7 games, and decided, like I said, went to go get dinner, came back, and I was actually playing with Andres from the Omnic Lab for the second half of the day. And I said, yeah, I'll stop when I lose. And 3:15, I think it was, in the morning.
Wow.
Was the first time I lost on Friday. I went up about 400 ranking points.
That's insane.
did not. I was literally, and I knew it when I was there, that I was one game away from
3K.
Diamond. Yeah, and it goes now entering Hanamura, and I just went beep, like just instantly. I just was so mad. I'm just like, if there's ever a map where even a good team can just fail to push and things go wrong, it's going to be that map. And sure enough, overtime starts, and my team like trolls me a little bit. We successfully capture point A in overtime after a super long drawn out fight. We go on, we do the exact same thing for point 2. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, we finished the map. I don't care about anything else. I can hold them. We got a decent chance at it. And they finished with, like, I don't know, it was like 2 minutes left. And then we held them on the second one to keep the draw going until overtime. And then they took it in a really long, drawn-out fight. And it was tragic. I was literally getting, like, it had to have been like between 45 and 50-ish points with every win because my win streak had been going on for so long.
Yeah.
I estimate my record for the day at 12-1-2 or 12-1-3 or so, somewhere in that range. It was absolutely out of this world to just keep winning. It was so funny because I have to give a shout out to somebody as well. His name's Afterthought, and he's asked for shout-outs on the show before, and I told him as soon as he does something positive for the Overwatch community, I'll go ahead and make sure his name gets known on the show. But it was mostly just as a joke. He was on my last team, kind of the one guy that kind of matched my commitment level at least, and we were hoping to kind of stay in the same group, but he found a team and has moved on and was playing with them a little bit, and then he comes back to me and he goes, you got to catch up to me now, because I was a couple points higher than him, and that was like Friday right when I started playing, and on my way out on Friday I'm like, you got to catch up to me now, and he was just so he just seemed heartbroken about it a little bit, so it was really funny to kind of have that back and forth with him. Also, the reason he's getting a shout out is because his new name is Afterthought. I actually named him because I called him the afterthought of the group. So just be disparaging and make jokes at his expense.
Got him.
Hopefully he's not listening, so he never knows he got this shout out. And I can keep the joke going, but if you are listening, how are you doing, my friend? But yeah, so big winning streak for Overwatch for me this week. Hoping by the time you guys are actually able to listen to this, I am already Diamond, so I'll probably put a tweet out about it if I get there, hopefully tonight. But we'll have to wait and see who's on and what we can do here to get these games done.
I'll be on. Sorry, I had to sneeze there. But I've also been playing, have not had nearly as monumental a win streak. In fact, I've been enraged most of the time. I literally had to find another game to play because I've determined that solo queue Overwatch is literally unplayable. If you like the game at all, which is ironic because I really like Overwatch. Surprise, surprise. Been talking about it for 38 episodes. I like the game so much that I just want to play the game, but I don't like it so much that I want to play Quick Match. No one likes it that much. Quick Match is actual unplayable unless you're playing the point is lava, in which case it's fun. But I want to play competitive. I want to keep playing. Even it's like every time I queue up in solo queue, it's like someone just punches me right in the face, and it's like, but I really want to play. It's like, okay, come on, just poof, punch right in the face. Okay, man, that really hurt. But I really want to play. It's like, okay, come on. Hit me. It's really bad. It's like I'm in an abusive relationship with solo queue. So I'm like, I'm done playing solo queue. I don't want to do it. I'm not dropping back down. I lose like 100 points every session I play. It's terrible. So I found another game. It's called Toxic. It's spelled weird. I'm not even gonna really promote it. It's a fun game. It's basically Quake. That's the end of that sentence. It's basically Quake. It's really like a fun, like run around arena shooter, just shoot stuff, blow stuff up, like deathmatch, King of the Hill, like standard type of game. It's fun. It keeps my FPS skills like honed a little bit, and it's nice to blow off some steam. So instead of solo queuing, I've been playing Toxic, and I feel myself getting more toxic as I play in Overwatch. I've been queuing up with Penne, and boy, we had Penne. To his credit, He's always super nice in the team chat. He's always like, "Hey, can you guys, maybe not go Hanzo? Like, I know if you're good with Hanzo, that's okay. It's like, well, we don't really need a Hanzo on attack." I'm just like, idiot, change off a Hanzo. It's awful here. You're not Pluppy. Don't go attack Hanzo. You uncultured swine. Like that's basically we're like good cop, bad cop.
So I'm just going to throw this out there. For most of my win streak, I was using Hanzo on attack. Not on every map.
You're not gold tier. That's the difference.
It's true, but and I'm also like queuing with Azaria every time. So it's like if my team's bad, as long as he can hit his ultimate when I have mine up, everybody's going to die. So we've been kind of using that as well. But it opens up the door. Basically, the only reason I'm playing Hanzo is because it opens up the door for me to play DPS on defense. Because if you play support the first round and it goes well, anybody's just going to freak out at you if you try to switch off to a DPS character. Yeah. So I've been trying to like play more attack heroes when we're attacking rather than defense because my Junkrat has just been out of this world lately.
Really nice. See,
I don't know what it is.
I can understand the Hanzo because Hanzo at least has a high like power, like at least like a high skill ceiling or a high like power ceiling. I mean. What about the Widow, though? Like, where is the Widow? Like, there's really no excuse for the Widow at this point.
To play Widow? Yeah,
play Widow.
There's really, at this point, you've got to be so good with her. Yeah. It's really, to me, the same thing, right? It's just Hanzo recently got buffed and Widow recently got nerfed, and they're just not on the same level while they do the exact same thing. Like, when you're attacking with a sniper, it's just all about get the pick and then move in.
Right, but there's also no like very easy wombo combo to pull off with Widow, except for the wombo combo of right click and left click.
No, but the information you gain from the ultimate is still just so valuable. It's kind of crazy.
Right, and when you say you there, you mean non-gold tier players.
I mean the information's valuable to anybody that knows how to use it.
Right,
I don't know.
So what you meant was non-gold tier players.
Yeah, I don't know. You're not making me want to queue with you tonight, by the way.
Okay. I'm very close to not being gold anymore. And like I said, I'm not exaggerating. I was exaggerating before when I said 90. I would say at least 70% of the games I play in solo queue, I have 4 gold medals.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Listen, and I don't know what it is. Why is it so different when I solo queue as compared to when I duo queue? When I duo queue, there's only one other person. There's 4 completely random people. I almost never hear the phrase, "But I'm gold damage," or "I have gold." I have gold whatever. Nobody.
Because you're not at gold tier. That is the mantra of the gold tier player.
Even at platinum going on diamond, if I were to solo queue, it would happen. Like they're still there. I think it's just like this solo queue mentality because when you duo queue or when you 3 queue, a lot of times there's 2 other dual queues on your team, and it's 2-2-2 versus 2-2-2, or 3 and 3, versus 3 and 3. So I don't know if maybe that's it or what have you. But listen, public service announcement to everybody out there that solo queues: don't use your stats as an excuse. Because you can get gold damage if you just pick Bastion every single game. Like, I could play Bastion every game and have gold damage every single game. And guess what? I'm still going to be completely useless 95% of the time. Same thing with snipers, things like that. Like, you can be gold eliminations Widow, and having a really good game and playing very well, it doesn't make it okay for you to stay on the hero. Like, it's still king of the hill. We still need you on the point. We still need whatever it is. So just stop using that as an excuse to not switch heroes. Like, even if you're playing well, it doesn't mean you've made the right choice. It doesn't mean you can't do more. If multiple people on your team are asking you to change, just change.
Can you turn that into a clip that I can just play over my mic in the games that I play? Because
you're bad. You should feel bad.
Yeah. We need that. We need that clip because the number of times that would have been great to play is
that to the line.
Incalculable. But let's move on. So I guess for those of you who are following the High Noon Showdown, Deathblow's winning by precipitous amounts, almost to the point where I can't queue with him anymore. But I'm getting there. Although queuing with you isn't going to help me get whatever. I don't care about gaining ground at this point. I'll do the last minute.
It might help me gain ground thinking about it, right? Because I know you have a brain, and you're going to just drag me down to play versus gold players. and things. So
Maybe
it might help me win that couple games I need to get the diamond.
That's a good point. But so yes, let's do the what did you guys do last week? And the biggest thing, we got a new patron, man. New gold tier patron, Mr. Trevor B. Thank you so much for your patronage. Check your Patreon inbox or tweet at us or message us somehow, because I sent you the Discord info and all the other cool stuff that comes with being a patron. But I haven't heard from you, so keep an eye out for that, and we will get you hooked up. If you guys
I talked to him a little bit. I don't know. I have to see if he has a message or anything like that he wants to add. But it was funny because he actually, the day he became a patron, he also stumbled across my Reddit post looking for a team, and he was somebody else that kind of reached out to me where he was trying to put together a roster or starting to at least head in that direction, and wanted to talk to me about it, and neither of us made the connection until a little bit after the fact. Like, hey, wait a minute. I'm like, I thought you were responding to my Reddit post, but you just saw my battle tag in the patron Discord. And he goes, no, I saw your Reddit post, but that's funny that it's both. So it was just kind of a funny moment.
That's awesome. So if you guys ever want to check out what it's like to be a patron, check out patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. All of our cool stuff is there. We've got some cool stuff. So, and I don't know, the Patreon Discord has been getting pretty sweet lately. I didn't put this in the notes, but we had a really cool. I'm gonna check real quick. Someone in the Discord posted a picture of their son. And goes, proudest dad moment ever. My son.
Oh, hilarious.
My son. I'm at my son's soccer game right now, and every time he runs fast, he puts his finger up and says, "What is it?
Amp up the volume."
Oh yeah,
or
pump up the volume. Yeah. Or amp it up. Yeah. Time to accelerate. Like, you know, the Lucio noise, and the Lucio voice line. And he posted the picture, and I'm like, this is hilarious. So. Just awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if they're athletic goggles, but I like to think he's also wearing like superhero, you know what I mean, like glass frames or something like that. Like, that's what I like to think it is. It's not entirely clear, but it helps complete the picture and just make the kid that much more awesome. Yeah,
so absolutely a hero moment for sure. So last thing I wanted to talk about was, and this has actually been going on for a couple of weeks, and I don't know why. Actually, I do know why we haven't mentioned it, because we usually get the picture tweeted at us like the day after it goes live, so there's like a long amount of time before we record the next episode, and I forget because I'm an idiot. But Overwatch Today, at Overwatch Today on Twitter, check them out. I'm assuming he, but maybe she, they have been making basically memes from our episodes almost every week. Something, you know, either that we explicitly said was a meme or that they found was a meme or something, making like little memes and posting them on Twitter. And this week's one was just great, or I guess last week's one was just great. It's our high noon picture, and it says 98% banter, 2% content, still the best damn podcast. So really appreciate that. Overwatch Today, guys, check him out, or her. I'm just gonna assume him. Check him out. check Shklim out, or Shkler, for sure. And thank you. So without further ado, let's move into the tournament talk, like we always do.
And we're done.
Yeah, and that's the show, guys. Thank you guys for listening. No, we had a couple of tournaments. I branched out a little bit, but let's just grind right through it. So, start off with the EleagueEve Weekly, number 20. Wow, whew. Number 20. We had NWA, LG, LDLC, and T-Rocks, and NWA beats LG 3-0. And then normally we would be talking about the Gosu NA Weekly, number 20, but there were some complications in the, I think, was it Grand Finals? I don't remember when. I think it might have been Grand Finals. Maybe some. It doesn't matter. They got DDoSed, or Blizzard got DDoSed, and they did not play the rest of the tournament. So it is rescheduled for this Saturday, which is the 24th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So check out the number 20 NA Gosu Weekly, 3 p.m. 24th, 3 p.m. Eastern. So next, we got some updates from the ESL King of the Hill, and FaZe lost their title atop the hill, losing to Cloud9 3-0. So now Cloud9 is the new king. This is kind of what we've been waiting for a while, is to see like this is I'm liking this tournament. So won't go into too much. Let's get through the rest of it. We had the Lenovo Cup, which is casted by Hex, which is the reason I brought it up, and the fact that there's not too much else. And the playoffs are still being played as of the recording of this episode, and the playoffs have Misfits Reunited, Ninjas in Pajamas, and LG. So definitely check that out, if for nothing other than Hex. And we got some people going to BlizzCon.
We do.
So I'm going to real quick go through the teams who are currently qualified for BlizzCon. We've got Team Germany, Team Finland, Team France, Team Sweden, Team Russia, Team Spain, Team Chile, Team Taiwan, Team Thailand, and Team Malaysia for the Overwatch World Cup going to BlizzCon. I, of course, will meet them all personally, and they will all want my autograph. Notable here is France, who we were talking some smack about last
That's so
week.
funny.
Hex was talking some smack as well as us as well. So really kind of funny to see France in there. I hope they take it down now.
I do a little bit too. It's
just to make Hex look like the biggest Grinch ever.
I don't know who was in their bracket, but we talked a little bit about how their roster wasn't necessarily made up of top tier pros, right? Yeah. You've got AlphaCast, who's a well-known streamer. Mikhail OW. I literally still don't know who he is. Kitty, who is a streamer as well. I don't know much about her other than she's very attractive. D-Gun is, obviously one of the players that we start to recognize from some tournament rosters. And then the captain sure did want to win, so he hit up Nox and Crew to join the squad to round things out for the captain's picks. So, not a bad roster by any means, but it's really just a matter of a comparison. When you look at Team Sweden, IDDQD, Zave, Chipsogen, Zebasai, Coco, to Veek. Like, Sweden is stacked.
Is better than like any team right now.
Right. And
they're the best team in Overwatch.
And you look at Finland, and you've got Zappis, you've got Taimu, Mafu, Kerp is the only one I'm not super positive who they are. The name's vaguely familiar, so maybe I've seen him around, or it might just be a streamer. I don't know. But also Himsy and Linkser. So you look at some of these teams, and they're just stacked. Even you look at the U.S. team, and we're not quite as stacked. We've got Stir on our roster, but he's trying not to get myself in trouble. I was gonna say, a gameplay streamer. So he's known for having some some serious talent at the games. Whether he's at the pro level or not, I don't know. I've never played against him. I think if he was at that level, his stream might be to a point where he wouldn't want to go into the team scenario. We've talked about that struggle in the past, but you've got Siegel, Tailspin, Adam, Gods, and Mezer to round out that roster. So it's really kind of stacked seemingly in some of these teams' favor. So I don't know who was in France's bracket, but if there was any sizable teams in there or any significant teams, then good on them, and maybe they have a chance to make a run for it. Yeah,
and I didn't watch a lot of this tournament. I watched a couple of matches from the EU play-ins, or what are they called? The I don't even know what they were called. There was like a million rounds to this tournament. I got very confused. But some of the early EU rounds, they were not taking it seriously. They absolutely were not taking it seriously. So I could see like if some teams like didn't really want to go to BlizzCon, or if they couldn't go to BlizzCon, or it didn't really seem like there was a lot of incentive for this tournament, which is kind of sad. And we talked about this at length last week with Hex about how this tournament kind of misfired for a couple of reasons. So I won't go too much into it, but it seemed like this tournament, it's like even like any of the other tournaments that aren't like the lowest tier tournaments, people take more seriously than this tournament. Like, it didn't really seem like a lot of people have really like it. This tournament is like almost not a joke, but it's like an afterthought for these professional players.
It has no prize to it whatsoever financially. So right away,
the trip to BlizzCon, which is worth a couple $100, probably closer to over $1,000.
It depends on where you're coming from, I think.
From
mostly,
EU, it's from like not US. Okay, I can say from coming from the US, it is the trip itself is worth over $1,000, including tickets and hotel and plane.
Right. So it's not going to be cheap, but at the same time, there's no team that's going to sacrifice any of their E-League preparation time. And those are always going to take precedence. Heck, even the teams that are just trying to make a run at the weeklies while everybody's boot camping for E-League, probably going to not give up that practice time, since there's a chance to win some money there. And also you're playing with your team, and there's just, it's a better feeling overall when you choose your teammates rather than get them pushed on you. So I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see. I know I've had a lot of trouble following the group stages of this tournament because I saw some of the Latin American qualifiers or some of that group stages, tried to listen to it, and it was in Spanish. I saw some of the European coverage, and it was in French. And I see the announcements in the OW Discord where, the Slasher's kind enough to tell us whenever just about anything goes live. And I'm at work. So I've had a lot of trouble following any of the Overwatch World Cup to vouch for the level of play or anything like that personally. Hopefully I can catch some of the NA stuff, since I believe though that group is about to fire off in the next couple of weeks here. So I'm definitely hoping to see some of that. I don't think you guys seemed a little more down on the tournament than I was. I think it's kind of like an all-star game sort of scenario where it's cool, but nobody cares. And really the only reason I watched the Pro Bowl and football or pay any attention to it at all was, and I don't anymore, was because it used to be after the Super Bowl. So it was my last chance to see any football for the year, and that's not something that the World Cup is going to have a problem with. There'll be a tournament the weekend after it, just like every other weekend. So I don't know. It's a little tough to know what we're getting with this. And I'm hesitant to call it, a misfired or anything until it happens. Let's see how the finals play.
Here's the problem I have with it. Even like comparing it to an All-Star game, which I 100% understand. The thing about having an All-Star game is that you need to have like an established season. You need to have an established league. You need to have an established sport before you can have an all-star game. If we invented a sport this year, we probably wouldn't have the all-star game for that sport as the first major tournament that we as the creators of the sport put on. That's just the way I think of it. And we definitely even though Overwatch is supposed to be this global thing with the story of it being like real life, quote unquote, and the different nations and whatnot. I just think that there were ways they could have done a tournament like this in the same spirit of this tournament, and they could have done it differently, and I think it would have been better. But I don't work at Blizzard. They probably know more than I do. Maybe they're planning on something cool or something, but I don't know. It just seemed it seems a little weird, and it seems a little unpolished, which is really, I think, what is causing me the greatest amount of I don't even know what word to describe it. It just seems very off-putting for the Overwatch team to have planned something like this that does not seem polished, where almost every other thing they've done since before the game came out has been super polished, or at the very least they're like, okay, this is not a polished version, this is a pre-version, but we need you to test it. They didn't do any of that. They're not like, okay, this is a snapshot into what we kind of want to do for tournaments, but we're going to test it out at the first BlizzCon, so bear with us. It's like, nope, this is the biggest event ever. This is the Overwatch World Cup. And it's like, okay, thanks, guys. This is great. Okay, bye.
I'm a little upset just because I wanted the World Championships. I don't care how new the game is. I wanted the World Championships. I wanted the best
100%
teams
wanted the World
in the
Championships.
room. Yeah, like
That's what we thought for months and months.
Yeah, and I don't know how they've done it in the past. I don't remember how Heroes of the Storm did it, but I feel like Hearthstone was right away into World Championships.
They had the first one. Remember, they had that tournament that had like Crip and Artosis and like a bunch of like, I guess almost like this, where it wasn't like a there wasn't pro players to play. It was just like a bunch of like streamers or whatnot, or invitees. Do you remember that? Crip and Artosis played, and I think Artosis won like the first Hearthstone tournament ever.
I don't remember it.
It was like the first thing ever. I remember because I like was looking for Hearthstone tournament coverage. Like when I first got Hearthstone, I ingested every single piece of Hearthstone ever.
Yeah.
And I watched like a whole thing on that, and I like Artosis, like his stream used to be like his pre-recorded like testing for that tournament, so I was watching that too, which was kind of cool. But
I think I just blacked out everything that happened before me beating Firebat within 12 hours of him winning the first World Championship. I think I just ignored everything after that.
This is like way before that. This is way before, like at least a year, if not 2 years before that. But
well, maybe we should have seen it coming then, but we didn't. So
but it's not even in the same vein, because it's like, it's not like, I don't know. It's just, it seems a little bit weird. It seems a little bit off-putting. It seems like there's not, okay, so like I can understand like from the player's perspective, like you should care about this because you're going to get a free trip to BlizzCon. BlizzCon is awesome, and you know, even if it's not like huge prize money, the trip is worth at least like $1,000. Like a low ball estimate, from regardless of where you are, it's a low ball $1,000 that you're winning for qualifying. So that's nothing to sneeze at. But from the player's perspective, or the viewer's perspective, why should we care about this tournament? I don't have a reason to. I don't think. I haven't seen one yet.
Attractive girl streamers on Team France?
Well, I was gonna make. I wanted you shouldn't have said Team France. I'd be like, I can just watch Tavik stream anytime. But joke ruined. Joke ruined. Give me my pluppy. Okay. But that's enough. I said I wasn't going to talk about this tournament, and here we are.
Talking about it.
And I completely forgot that there was another tournament I wanted to talk about a little bit, a very little bit, because I know almost nothing about it. But the Asia Pacific Premier Tournament, which is a $50,000, I believe it's a series, or maybe it's a big tournament. I didn't look too much into it, but it's an Asia Pacific event. Has either played a couple of the group stages or is starting very soon. But that's going to be interesting because we've talked about the Korean invasion. To maybe a lesser extent, the Chinese teams have been playing as well. So it's interesting. I find it really interesting to see that we're starting to get some of these more non-EU, non-NA tournament series for Overwatch started. So super excited about that as well.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of coverage they'll have as far as if they'll have an English broadcast or anything like that. I hope so, because I would love to kind of get an idea for what will be coming ahead in the World Championships down the line, as we've seen those teams come into the NA weeklies and do really well or win them. So there's definitely a whole lot of talent over there in the Asia region, as there are in almost every esport. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what kind of impact they have. I would love to see some of their rounds play out against each other, really kind of get a feel for what the metagame is over there, what those guys are doing that we're doing differently. It's always great to see. You can notice differences between EU and NA a lot of the times, and I think Asia's kind of known for having an even different metagame, markedly different compared to the EU to NA difference.
Yeah, so definitely be interesting from that perspective as well. I'm hoping for some Hearthstone tournaments, I think like the Chinese league they have the Chinese broadcast, and then they have they'll release the footage out or rebroadcast it with English broadcasters. Like, it's not like at the same time it's just them talking over or like overdubbing it. Basically, I would even take that. Like,
Yeah.
Give us that coverage. I just want to see it, and I want to be able to, listen to it and understand at least some of the coverage. Although, I mean, for what it's worth, we can probably get the gist of what's going on without understanding even a word of what the comment.
I streamed a football game, and it was commentated in Danish yesterday, so why not?
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on. I'm adding, I'm not going to say it's another segment. It's, I think, a wrinkle to the tournament talk that I just kind of stumbled upon today, and I think it's kind of an interesting one. We might not do it every week. We might. I don't know. It's going to be, we're just going to talk about, the top 10 teams in Overwatch. Gosu Gamers Overwatch page has their top 10 listed. So let's just talk about it. And if, maybe from week to week, if there's some big changes or anything interesting, we'll talk about it. And if not, we'll probably talk about it the week after. So without further ado, let's go down the list. Number 1 is Envy. Number 2, Reunited. 3, Rogue. 4, Cloud9. 5, Misfits. 6, Fnatic. 7, Dignitas. 8 is FaZe Clan. 9, Luminosity. And rounding it out at number 10, Seagull's Own Energy. So, Death, before the show, you were talking about one team in particular that you were kind of surprised to see on here, and that was Team Dignitas. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, not so much that I'm surprised to see them on there. I'm just surprised that they're not a little farther down. Dignitas has had some struggles recently. Obviously, this is formerly Creation Esports. Really never, I think, gotten their feet under them since the Widow nerf when Linkser kind of lost his home. Still had really good moments. He's still been one of their better players, but just as a team unit, their roles aren't quite as cleanly defined. They change things up a little bit. They've had R-Tier, Bromas, and Linkser all playing the Zarya role. It's really nice to have a roster that's super flexible and can move around, but when the metagame doesn't line up with your preferences and it kind of creates some problems. So I think they're a team kind of in transition at the moment. They've been together as a 6 for a very long time, which I do definitely count as a plus. But at the same time, I wonder if they wouldn't be better served by maybe swapping out 1 or 2 of their members just to get players that fit a little better with what they need.
You're talking about killing their family, man.
Well,
I had a brother. I just swapped him out for a better brother.
It might not even be needed. It's just kind of something they could. It's hard to try that though, right? Like, hey, can you step out for 2 weeks just so we can see if this guy's
we're
better?
Definitely not gonna. We're definitely not gonna replace you or anything.
Right.
I've thought about this. Like, basketball team doesn't have 5 players on it. Football team doesn't have. Fill in the correct number of players for football. Baseball team doesn't have 9 players on the roster. They have, dozens. Basketball has,
literally dozens.
A dozen. It's interesting that all, or at least as far as I know, all esports have the exact number. There's no subs. There's no swap-ins. I would think especially for for MOBAs where maybe a map comes up and you need a specialist, a really niche jungler, and you bring a guy on your roster that only plays that jungler, and he'll only come in when you draft that jungler. That would just be an interesting thing. It doesn't have anything to do with the game specifically necessarily, more of the esports, but I just always found it kind of weird. It's okay, well, we need 6 guys. We're never going to have more. We can't ever have less. It's we have 6. If someone gets sick or injured, we're going to bring up some random scrub. There's no one that's practicing with the team. There's no one that has the team identity. There's no one that lives with us, plays with us, works for us. We had to bring in some random schmuck to play. I always thought that was interesting. I don't know. Did you ever think about that? How there's not extra players on the rosters for these teams?
I did, because you'll notice sometimes too, and something I've noticed a little bit more with the LAN tournaments is you have people that just aren't quite performing up to their usual standards on any given day. You have inconsistent teams that might benefit from it really greatly. But the main reason I think it's not done is because now you're asking Envious to pay a 7th person.
Sure.
And to do what exactly? To not play most of the time? So it seems a little tough, and also there's some rules aspects that might need to get ironed out, but I think as soon as a team wanted to do it, the rules for it would probably get figured out pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as one team decided they wanted to do it, assuming they had success doing it, everybody would follow. So it's almost one of those things waiting for somebody to just force the issue, I would think, but at the same time, you want to protect your investment, right? Like, you're paying 6 players already.
Yeah.
You don't want to pay them to lose the tournament, so you pay the 7th person to help make sure they're that much more likely to consistently finish at a higher level and give the organization a return on investment back. So there's definitely an argument to be had both ways. I think it would be great for the overall success of the teams, but I question, what you said, how with MOBAs, how, maybe only if we draft that jungler do we want to bring in this guy. Well, how does that work on Overwatch then? Do you have a 21-person Overwatch
No,
team?
I don't. Yeah. That would be kind of cool, though. And you just have them play musical chairs throughout the match.
Right, but I almost think at the same time, even if you look at the MOBA example, you'd have to decide to swap that player in before he got to make his pick.
If you pretend that the rules are made specifically so that this works out, you could do it however you wanted. Like, you just have the team as a collective group pick 5 champions, and then you field that team with whatever 5 players you want. Like, you could do that. There's nothing really, inherently against that. I definitely do agree it's probably a financial thing. Like, esports is still very, very new. Teams have a lot of teams, not really in Overwatch, but in other esports. I think there was a story about Smite recently where a team got in a ton of trouble because they had some shady stuff with their players. Like, they offered them $1 salaries or something, and they got banned from all of high-res esports. That team did.
Wow.
So that sort of stuff, and we don't really talk about the esports community at large as much, but there is a I already forgot what the Professional Esports Association. Yes, it's 7 teams from NA that have joined together basically to make their own league. It's a team owned league. They're starting out with Counter-Strike. So it's kind of like the NBA, where the teams own the league and they collectively bargain and run everything basically. But it's owned by the teams, and it's really awesome to be where we are now because we're seeing the growth of esports. But I almost want to just go in the future 10 years and just see where it is. I think we're going to have these sorts of things later on. I just don't think, I agree. It's probably a lot about the money. It's a lot about the logistics. It's a lot about things getting figured out. But I think in an ideal world, we could definitely have, maybe 10-person or 12-person Overwatch rosters, maybe only, 8 or 9. I don't know. With some subs.
I think the better question is, would real sports bother with the alternates if their players could not get injured?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Because
maybe.
I don't think somebody's going to come up with a wicked case of carpal tunnel in the middle of a tournament, whereas a football player, and many of them did this week, will tear an ACL in the middle of the game, and you need to be able to finish the game. There's definitely a lot of different reasons. There's multiple sides to it, ways to look at it, but it's an option. It's definitely something that could happen.
Or maybe
it
farm
would create
teams.
An interesting wrinkle. But it also might just dry things up a little bit, right? Because you look at, for example, you look at NA, and you have the 2 top teams. You have Envy, tier all to themselves. You kind of have Cloud9 in the second tier all to themselves. And if they each need to pick up another player, and you take Gods and put them on Envious, and then you take Siegel and you put them on Cloud9, and then you lose a team basically because of this. And those players are still going to want to be a part of the best roster that they possibly can be, so they're going to be trying to get onto the better team. And I don't know. So there's problems with it, but I think in a fully fledged, fully launched, fully healthy esports environment, which Overwatch just isn't there yet, it's too young, it has a lot of benefits to it. But I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever see it, but I'd be open to them some game somewhere trying it.
Or minor league esports teams.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool, and that could actually make sense if we have this, like, let's just take this Professional Esports Association League, the CS:GO League, where there's 7 teams that are in the league, and if you are the 8th team or you're an EU team or whatever, like, you can't get into this league. I mean, you probably could, but let's just pretend that you can't, like, and you're a player on one of these teams, instead of like just not being able to play in this league, you like play for the lower level team, Cloud 8, the minor league team that plays in a bunch of other tournaments, and then someone from Cloud 9 either doesn't work out or whatever, and you get brought up from Cloud 8. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I felt like when I first heard Northern Gaming Red and Northern Gaming Blue, and I heard they had 2 teams. It's kind of what I thought a little bit too, because Red to me just seemed way better than Blue.
Yeah.
So I really wondered what would happen if Red lost a player, and would somebody from Blue come up and then Blue would look, or how that would go. But I could definitely see some of these organizations getting into the business of sponsoring a second team and just having very different expectations and contracts for them, and viewing them and treating them like a developmental team.
Yeah.
It would be really interesting, and a great way for some newer people trying to break into esports that show a lot of promise. You look at somebody like Kib, who was found by Reunited just from, hey, I ranked up really well, and then he just happened to work out, right? Like, he just plugged in and everything went great. But we've seen it in sports, and we've seen it in some scenarios where, you can just get into a game. I was talking earlier about how my Junkrat's so good. Not in every game. Sometimes you get into it and it just doesn't work, whether it's the players you're with or whatever's going on. It would be nice for there to be a less pressured, place for somebody like that to try out. Thinking about Seagull's LG back when they were there, and they were trying to replace Esper, and they just constantly had this influx of like these guys coming in, and is it fair to try out a support player playing against Envy and Cloud9, and then you don't keep them because you guys lost? Like, you were losing, you always lost.
Yeah, you were never going to win that.
Right, like what I don't understand what's going on. And so I don't know, it would be great to see. I think that's kind of almost a better idea than the substitutes on team would be a second developmental team. And that requires no rules, no clarification. You just have like Cloud 9.5.
Cloud 8, man. Cloud 8. Brought up from Cloud 8. But I think it's kind of cool. I think that's a little bit what Cow League is kind of trying to be, except there's no like connection between the teams. It's like just teams in Cow League trying to get up to the point where they can play at these higher leagues. But I don't know. I think it'd be kind of cool. You want to chip in and start Cloud 8?
I'm down.
All right. So confirmed on the show, guys. High Noon Podcast is officially the owner of the developmental team Cloud 8. Also, I own the majority stock of the team formerly known as Mydong, which is now called Plupster. So I own 3 teams now. All of them worth $0, but I own them all. So let's move on.
I want to own fake things too.
Yeah, you just need to have your own fake Overwatch podcast. Oh wait, we do. You can.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, but let's move on. We've already talked about nothing for so long.
So, before, just to go back to what we were talking about to wrap it up, any other teams on the rankings list that you don't necessarily, or you're surprised about their spot or presence?
There was a team I talked about. Maybe not that I was surprised not to see them, but I don't know, maybe disappointed, or I don't know, disappointed is not the right word. I just want to see them on there because I like the team and I like some of the players. Is Tempo Storm, the Mangachu clan,
Mangachu, Red Expert, Nap Time.
Yep,
those guys.
I really like that team. I think Tempo Storm has some of the highest highs. They just are not consistent enough to be in the top 10. Mangachu can go off. He can pick a Sphera and just go completely ham, or even pick a Roadhog, go completely ham. But other times, he just crumbles. So it's disappointing.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd swap here looking at it is I'm just not sure Reunited's better than Rogue. But at the same time, if you're going to rank Overwatch teams, how do you put Reunited anywhere but second place?
Second place, yeah. And
they're just constantly in second
like
place.
Like literally always placing second. So they have
how do you not put them there? So I don't even know that it's wrong. It seems wrong to take I still feel like Rogue riding the ESL Atlantic Showdown win is just the top European team, and maybe it's because of the combination of football season pulling me away from tournaments and the lack of tournaments that have been out recently that I just haven't seen them beat Rogue much. Yeah. But I haven't seen them beat Rogue much, so I don't know why they got that spot. But at the same time, I know this isn't like somebody's trying to rank them personally, what their opinion is. This is, well, you beat this team who is ranked here, so you are in this many ranking points, and it's a scientific method, not an opinion method. So,
which doesn't matter. There's only the opinions matter. We need to make our own power rankings. I'm going to look into this next time to see if we can get down to the top 16, because I feel like there's a lot of other named teams that we're not seeing. Ninjas in Pajamas is another team that we see up there. What's that?
You can go way deeper than top 16. I'm looking at the.
Cool. Next week potentially we'll have that. Although we'll probably have a lot to talk about. Actually, are we going to have? No, ELEAGUE is not going to have happened. This is the eve of EleagueEve, I think.
Gotcha. Well, it's coming up soon because I know the teams are boot camping for it. That's why we didn't see them in the weeklies this week. And to answer your question, there are 477 teams on the Gosu Gamers rankings list.
Awesome. So maybe we'll just talk about all 477. I'll just rattle them off real quick.
Number 477 is LGD Gaming OW, for anybody that was curious.
Is that a team that you used to be on?
Probably. those all disbanded. It's definitely not.
Oh, okay.
One of my teams.
But any last second thoughts on the tournaments?
No, just the stuff we're going to talk about next.
All right. Well, then, without further ado,
let's break it.
Man, I haven't forgotten that clip in quite some time. Mostly because it's built into the show that the PowerPoint that I now have to run in order to run the show. So it's almost impossible for me to forget it.
Good.
So we had a couple of things. We talked a little bit about this last week, but now I feel like it's even more cemented than when we talked about it before. Ana is in now. Ana's in the meta. She's standard almost now, basically everywhere.
Yeah.
The Ana Lucio comp we were talking about a little bit before. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Death?
Yeah, listen, I've been listening to a lot of top streamers, like Mangachu is in there, a lot of the really top pros that's also stream, maybe not the biggest streamer names, but a lot of them have been talking about Ana as potentially the best hero in the game. All around. And I don't know that I'm quite there yet, but at the same time, I don't know who I'd put above her because she's got this really, and this is something Hex said last week as well, she's got this really innate ability to counter herself. When you nano boost a Reinhardt and he comes charging at your team, there's nothing like a sleep dart to put him down and say no to the nano boost. So it's really kind of forced the hand of the defenders to play the Ana so that they're not beaten by a nano-boosted Reinhardt. And the attackers want to do it because when you nano-boost a Reinhardt, he kills about 4 people on average, it feels like. So it's been a really, really effective strategy on the attack, and I think that they just haven't quite figured out a way to stop it that doesn't include running Ana herself. So that's really forced us into this mirror match where the triple aside is another story, but when the teams aren't running that, they still tend to be running Lucio and Ana for the supports. Great for me because I've really kind of taken to Ana as well recently. Once she got pushed into the metagame and it became apparent that she was worth the time to invest, I just wasn't sure for a little while. It took so long for her to start to see play that I didn't want to invest my time. I spent all that time learning Mercy just to have her ripped away from me by the balance
She'll
change.
come back. She always does.
And she already has it a little bit as well, especially in ranked play where it's not not quite as high level of play as the tournaments are. You can definitely get away with playing a lot of Mercy. And I almost feel like her level of play coincides directly with the play of the game algorithm. Because they've nerfed that a little bit. For a little while, I saw just as many mercies, but like people don't have that affirmation at the end of the round that yeah, I'm doing this right. You know, I got the play of the game. There's 4 people. There's everybody thanking me for it. You know, and so I feel like that's kind of led to her falling off, and that correlation has nothing to do with tournament play, just my queuing competitive experience. But so yeah, I don't know. Anna is definitely solidly in. I'm thinking about the golden gun for her because
it's a pretty good golden gun.
It is, as far as supports go, and I don't play a ton of Mercy right now. One of my buddies, Waku, likes to play Mercy, and he's really, really good at it. So I don't take her away from him very often. And really, it's just kind of like the Anna gun and the Mercy staff have the most gold for your 3,000 competitive points that you're going to spend. This is the largest model gun, so that's why I'm going there. Although the Zenyatta orbs look really cool.
Yeah.
They're just really they're almost hard to notice. So once you notice them, they're cool.
Yeah, it's definitely good. You know, we've talked about actually for a while that we thought, you know, Anna was going to be in, and I predicted it was because of the sleep dart, because I just after the first video someone sent me of Anna doing crazy things to the sleep dart, I'm like, okay, this is the real deal. Like, if you are good with that sleep dart, it counters ults, man. Like, what else in the game counters ults besides other ults? There's not a lot. Flashbang and Diva, her right click. But, well, okay, that's a decent amount of stuff. But, and I guess Road. Okay, so there are things that counter other alts, but not necessarily the ones that Anna counters. So, it's definitely, yes, it will shut down a podcast. If I got sleep darted right now, I would maybe I would keep talking. I probably would keep talking. Who am I kidding? But I'm definitely happy to see her. I think she's one of the more fun supports to play. Lucio just gets so boring after a while. I've played so many hours of Lucio. It's nice to have Anna. The problem for me, being someone who plays a lot of competitive and whatnot, a bad Anna is really bad.
Yeah. Bad Anna doesn't do a whole lot, and it's really the same reason she's seeing play is the same reason why bad Annas are just awful, and it's because of the sleep dart. The first thing I noticed when I picked up Anna and started playing her, you know, we talked about her when she came out. I had a lot of people tell me I was so good at Widow when body shots meant something, right? And then it just fell apart. And then Anna, I went into support and played that for a while, so it really felt like Anna was going to be a great home for me. And it's just I couldn't hit the sleep darts to save my life. Just like the awkward delay before you fire it, the awkward speed of the projectile, I feel like it's significantly different than most of the other projectiles in the game, but I've definitely gotten it down. And that's another thing too, is she's high skill cap, which is great for tournament play because it means that when the best players in the world pick her up, she's really, really good. So, but at the same time, it's really nice for competitive play and things like that too, because it allows you a support character that can really carry. Like, I've played some games with Anna where I just felt like I was doing 90% of the work. You know, when you're on with Anna and you're on fire. It's the Reinhardt getting the kills, sure, but you know he's glowing bright purple and screaming at the top of the stairs and running at full speed, and that's because of you. So everybody knows when he gets play of the game and he's glowing purple that it's really an Anna play of the game. But I do have a beef because I bought the highlight intro because it's phenomenal, and I've never seen it.
Yeah, that's the problem with some of those highlight intros. What skin do you use for Anna?
Wad Jet.
What one is that?
It's the one where you look like a pod racer from Star Wars.
Yes, that's the best one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not even close.
And when she comes up and does the and your eyes are like closing, it's really creepy, and I really like. I love it. It's probably my favorite.
Wait a second. No, you're talking about the legendary one, right? Are you talking about the legendary one or the epic one?
Legendary skin?
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, you're wrong. The epic one is way better than that one.
Oh, no, yeah, you're wrong. That's fine, though. You've been wrong about a lot of things in the history of the
Not
podcast.
skins, though. Not skins.
Oh, always skins.
No, never skins.
Let's talk about Zarya skins again.
Zarya, every single Zarya skin is garbage.
Except for the Siberian.
No, that one's garbage, too. But We talked a little bit about it. Triple tank, triple support. I don't know. I just want to get your thoughts. Is it broken? Does it need to be changed? Does it need to be nerfed? If so, what needs to happen?
If it's broken, it's Anna's fault, and she needs to get nerfed. But no, I don't think it is. I think it's just a matter of, in the moment, in a tournament, how do you possibly counter it when you don't already know how to counter it? And that's to play it, right? Like, you don't have to counter something to exactly mirror it. So I think that's what we're seeing right now. It doesn't feel unbeatable when I've played against it, which admittedly has only been a couple of times and not against the same level of players that the top end is. But it's something they might just nerf because it only impacts the top end of play. Like the very, very coordinated top level of tournament play and such, because if you're duo queuing, you're not going to get your team to sign up for 3 tanks and 3 supports. They don't all watch tournaments.
I've had that happen. It does not work.
Right? And it does. You know, you've got people playing roles they're not comfortable with. There's so many people out there that are whatever mains. And we've made fun of you plenty on the podcast, so hopefully none of you are listening anymore. But they're just never going to switch. And when you get them to, you know, in quick play, I will never understand why now that Brawl's out. If I ever go into quick play for a warm-up, the first thing that happens is 4 people pick D.Va and try to get me to pick it too, so I just leave. Just go play the Brawl.
It's because the point is lava, bro. Come on.
But anyway, I forgot even where my point was going with it.
Triple tank, triple support.
Oh, yeah. Is it OP? Yeah, no, I don't think so. Like, because you just... If you nerf it, you're not affecting the masses. You're not affecting how anybody feels about it. It's just a matter of how you nerf it.
Yeah.
And you need to do it in a way that only affects the least played heroes of it. So there's ways to nerf Anna that won't affect the masses of players playing her.
I feel like
the skill cap.
We're going to see her alt charge get bumped up a little bit.
She needs to build her alt a little more slowly.
Yeah.
In order for things, I think, to be fair. And that's probably what we'll see. And at the same time, though, I don't know that it'll matter, because it's just about, like, getting to it and going. And whether I need to sit back and shoot at the other team, it's just how long are we waiting to go? You know, or how long are we waiting for either a pick or the Anna alt, which is, I think, why it's been played so much, is because now you just need to take a little bit of damage so that your Anna can get to alt and then go, or get the pick. And I think the strategy can still stay, especially with the Roadhog and, you know, those hooks coming out and things like that. That'll really help you get those picks. Zenyatta just laying in damage will get picks as well. And if nobody is low, the Anna gets to shoot too. So I don't know. I think it'll still stick around even if they make that change, which makes me want to see the change happen that much more.
Yeah, definitely interesting. And I don't know why. I just thought of this. So I think we predicted the triple tank, triple support comp months and months ago, because I remember specifically saying, I want to see a comp, and this might even be back, it's definitely before Hero Limits. I think it's back in the Fantastic Four days. I remember saying, I want to see a comp that maybe doesn't even run an attack hero. It just runs like a couple of bruisers and a support and a defense, and like a couple of supports, a couple of defense, something like that, where it's like a completely untraditional comp where it wouldn't be like a 2-2-2 or you know, something like that. I think we may, even if not directly, I think we may have predicted the coming of triple support or triple tank, triple support months and months ago. Someone maybe can find that coverage somewhere. It's definitely recorded, so I can't even like pretend it's like the first basketball shot I ever made. Which, by the way, I've gotten quite good at making baskets. I make one out of every three now.
Well, yeah, it's solved.
Yeah, it's solved. I'm better than solved. I can make 2 baskets in one.
I've had King of the Hills where I've made all 3.
Wow. I meant in one warm up. Like you make the basket and then make it again. Oh,
I see. I'm gonna call you out on that one. I'm gonna call BS.
Okay. Well,
I don't think your accuracy. I don't think your accuracy is anywhere near even 25% once the ball leaves the table.
My accuracy is not 25% when the ball leaves the table. That's what I will say.
I don't know that it's 25% when it's on the table, but we'll figure it out.
Well, no, we probably won't. But
No, because you never play at the same time as me, or I already have a group and you log in.
yes. Okay. Well, let's move on. I was going to talk a little bit. I thought we actually have been talking for quite some time now, so I'm not going to bring in the fluff topic that I was going to bring. But I will mention that hopefully by the time you hear this, my article will be out. It is about grinding and playing at specifically like the tier that I'm at, so like between gold and platinum. It's about some tips and stuff that you can do to make yourself A, not rip out your hair, and B, maybe win a couple of games in those tiers while you're playing competitive. So
is tip 1 accidentally win 12 games in a row so that you're almost
tip 1 is don't ever solo queue for any conceivable reason if you respect yourself and or Overwatch. And that's the whole tip now. But I wanted to a couple of things. Maybe they'll be helpful. Maybe they won't. I don't know. They're things that I've done to keep myself sane, even though I'm clearly not. But check that out. It's going to be at media.egfederation.com. When that comes out, I'll tweet about it and stuff and all that good stuff. So I think that's all we got for today. We actually made it through the barren wasteland of few tournaments and few updates and few everything. So I'm pretty happy. I think we still had a pretty decent episode.
Yeah, we did pretty well filling the time. It might be a little painful next week as well. We'll have to wait and see exactly what shakes up.
Maybe Sombra will get released happening. Or something.
Yeah, at least I would just be happy if there were things I didn't get a chance to watch because they were EU only happening, which hasn't been a ton of it. But at the end of the day, as long as I don't have to start watching the King of the Hill series by ESL, I'll be happy. But if they don't start coming out with more content, I'm going to have to.
I mean, for what it's worth, I thought that tournament was casted pretty well. There's got some good casters.
I'm sure it's the production values there. I just absolutely despise watching King of the Hill at this point. Like, it's just team deathmatch, and I don't know. It's not for me.
Gotcha. But I think that's going to be it. Death, do we have any parting words before we go? Do you want to tell people
almost
where
to
we can find
50%
you?
on the Sombra transmission, so the slowest troll ever by Blizzard is
clearly going to be
winding
revealed
down.
at BlizzCon. Like, why haven't people realized that at this
I
point?
think somebody did some math on it and said it gets pretty close to that time frame. So,
Yeah, makes sense. Also, they can change it whenever they want.
like, when have you ever downloaded something and it's an even progression?
Yeah, it's like it says
I really think we're going to wake up and
then you
be
can be like,
20%
okay, in 8 minutes and 23 seconds, I can come back and it'll be 100. It's like, no, you idiot. It's going to go up to, it's going to stay at 16 for an hour and a half, then it's going to go straight to 100. But, Death, where can people find you on the internet and stuff?
Well, you can go over to highnoonpodcast.com. There's an authors section of the site that'll link you directly to my Twitter, my Twitch that I don't use, and a couple other avenues where you can reach out to us. We're also on Facebook, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube. We're getting, I think, pretty close to being able to make our custom URL for YouTube. Close to 70 subscribers there. So we are predominantly a audio-only podcast, but we do have our episodes up in video form. So please do us the favor to go over there, hit subscribe. That'll allow us to make it a little easier for people to find us on YouTube.
Yeah, please, guys, if you're listening right now and you have any interest in YouTube at all, go search on YouTube for High Noon Podcast, and we will be there. Hit subscribe, even if you don't watch them on YouTube at all. Once we get 100, we can be youtube.com/highnoonpodcast, and that'll be awesome. So find us there. Find us all the stuff at highnoonpodcast.com. Like I mentioned before, if you guys are interested in supporting the show in a way that's more than just listening to us and leaving us an iTunes review, you can head over to patreon.com/highnoonpodcast. Find out about all the cool goodies we have there. You can also check out the store page on highnoonpodcast.com and get a sweet High Noon Podcast shirt, which Hex should be getting in any day now, so hopefully he'll keep an eye out for at Hexagrams on Twitter. He'll tweet out a sweet picture of the shirt that we got for him. You can also check out our pinned tweet on Twitter at highnoonpodcast.com for the details for the High Noon Showdown, where you, and I'm talking to you, can win High Noon Podcast shirt yourself. So all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
I want to clarify one thing about the showdown. If you send us a tweet that says Team Death or Team Blev, you have copped out, and I will invalidate your entry. It won't count. We will make sure that we give the shirt to. I don't know, we probably won't because it would take effort to double check it. But yeah, pick a team. Don't be a wuss. I'm winning by like 4 million points, so just pick me. Inflate my ego a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Or pick me, because then I know you're a psychopath and you don't understand numbers or logic or reason. So that means I like you, and you've picked a great team to be on. But that's all we've got for this week. Oh, except also thank you to Adam Hoek, because he's awesome. Mm-hmm. He made this sweet little outro that you're about to hear in just a couple of seconds. Thank you so much to Ro from Realm Maintenance Podcast for having us on. Check out Realm Maintenance Podcast, especially the episode that we're going to be on. Thank you to Creation Esports. Thank you to Matt Chirino, our sponsors. Thank you to everyone who's ever supported us in any way. Appreciate it. Thank you to all the patrons, blah, 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 blah. Remember, last thing, I'm not even going to delay it anymore. It's high noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. Threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Here's the thing, at the end of the show, I didn't even think about it at all. Just tweet at High Noon Podcast and say, hello, friend, and you'll get 10,000 Overwatch 11 points. Okay, bye!